Well, welcome to our growers annual meeting. My name is, for those who don't know me, my name is Alex Sanchez. I'm the chair of Coachella Valley Irrigated Lands Coalition. And thank you for being here. And Barry Yu, he's our consultant MLJ project manager. And then we got Rachel over there, our program manager for CVILC. And so I'll let Barry take the floor. So thank you, Barry.
All right, thanks everyone. Thanks for the introduction. I'm Barry Yu. I'm with MLJ Environmental. We're a small consultancy company that helps growers around California meet the, sorry, I'm still recovering from a cold. My throat's a little bit behind, so we've got apologies in advance for having to clear my throat a lot. But yeah, we help growers all across California to be in compliance with the Irrigated Lands Regulatory Program. Our goal is to help you guys spend as little time as possible to be in compliance. Here's a quick roadmap of what we're going to cover today. So we're going to talk about the coalition and your requirements. We're going to go over last year's monitoring results. We're going to talk briefly about nitrogen coefficients and the member portal. And we're going to do a quick walkthrough of survey entry. So that's the reports that you guys have to do annually. Afterwards, I hope you guys could stick around because we're having CVWD. Levi Anderson's going to be presenting an update on the Coachella Valley Salt and Nutrient Management Plan. And we're going to have Emily from Rincon, who is a consultant for CVWD. They're going to talk really briefly about water use efficiency and I believe it's forecast for how much water ag's expected to use. All right. So the coalition and you. So the coalition's run by a board of directors. You have, whoops, nice. So you have these board of directors. These are really the unsung heroes of the coalition because they're growers just like you, super busy, and they volunteer their time to represent growers in the Coachella Valley to the Regional Water Board. You have the participants, so CVWD, Riverside Farm Bureau. Some of you guys already know Rachel Johnson. She's the executive director for the Riverside Farm Bureau. She's joining on as the program manager. She's a great person to have in your corner. Ever since she's come on, every conversation that I have with her, she is always thinking about the best interests of the growers. So she's a great person to have in your corner, and we're excited to have her. We also have Lori, who is handling a lot of the accounting side of the coalition. You have MOJ, who's the consultant for us, and sampling, which is done by CVWD as well as MLJ. So here's a map of California. You guys could see that we're all the way the southeasternmost coalition, or sorry, region. So the State Water Board mandates that the state waters need to be protected, and so that way their beneficial uses are still applicable. So that's what we're doing water testing for. Each one is broken into different regions based off climate and geography. Here is the order. So this is the document that says what exactly are the requirements for the coalition, what are the requirements for you as a grower. When you guys sign on to the coalition, there's a notice of confirmation that you guys have read it. I'm sure you guys have, since you guys are members, that you've read it thoroughly and know it by heart. But in case you need to reference it again, there's a QR code for you. So what's the value of your membership? So you have a team of board members who are growers and agricultural professionals, such as yourself. And so whenever we have conversations with the Regional Water Board, you can know that your best interests are being represented. You have cost savings. So instead of doing the reporting by yourself, which is more costly, you'd also have to do your own testing. The coalition handles that all for you. You also have anonymous reporting. So the stuff that we're going to go into a little bit later, that's stuff that if you were reporting directly to the Regional Water Board, that would be public information. And so someone could say, this particular water quality impairment is due to so-and-so. So it's a big thing to have anonymous reporting. Just know that we do send the Regional Water Board a participant list every year. And in that participant list, it says whether or not you've, one, attended this meeting and whether or not you've completed your reporting requirements. So the other benefits helps maintain compliance with the order. So you don't have to worry too much about the irrigated lands regulatory program. Hopefully it's just a once in a year thing, one time a year thing for you guys. You have the coalition who conducts surface water and groundwater monitoring. We coordinate with the lab, and MLJ handles a lot of the correspondence with the lab, and we also handle the final reporting that goes to the Regional Water Board. You have the coalition preparing water quality restoration plans as needed. We're going to talk a little bit about that since that is a new development for this year. And it pays the state water board fees for you guys, as well as assists members with their annual reporting, such as their irrigation and nitrogen management plan summary reports. That is a mouthful, so I'm just going to say INMP from moving forward. You got your farm plans and INMP worksheets. It also means you're represented to the Regional Water Board. So here are your requirements for being a member. You have the notice of confirmation, which we just talked about. If you don't have that on file and the Regional Water Board asks, you could reach out to MOJ and we should have a copy for you guys so you could show proof that you are enrolled in the coalition. And you have your membership dues as well. So each year you have to pay by September 30th, otherwise there might be a late fee. And you also have to do your yearly reporting. So that's the farm plan and INMP summary report, which is due 4 days from now. All right, and you have the INMP worksheet. That's something that you just have to complete and have on farm, and you're attending a meeting. So everyone who's here, you know that you've gotten one requirement done. So good job. All right, and you have drinking water well testing and reporting. So if you have a drinking water well on your property, you have to have it tested. So that's something that the coalition actually doesn't do for you. If you want to contact us and help walk you through the process, we could certainly do that. But in terms of paying for it and finding the lab, that's up to you. So what is a drinking water well? The Regional Water Board defines it as a well that's used for cooking or drinking. So it's only those two. Note that that's the definition that we're also going to be using for the farm plan when it asks how many drinking water wells you have on your property. I think last year there might have been some over-reported drinking water wells. We had a 50% increase year over year. So if you guys can, please review that number and make sure that it follows the definition for if it's used for cooking or drinking. And for the testing, you have to use an ELAP certified lab, which will upload the results to GeoTracker. If you have 10 milligrams or greater of nitrate, you have to inform everyone who's using that well for drinking water, and you should explore different drinking water sources. The other thing that you have to do is after you receive that result, you have to inform the Regional Water Board. I know some of you guys might have some apprehension about reporting your nitrate results to the Regional Water Board, but this is more of a public health thing than you showing that you might be responsible for nitrate exceedances. Like, that's not what they're looking for. We just want to know that the water's not being drank since it's a public health concern. If you have less than 10 milligrams per liter, all right, if you have less than 10 milligrams per liter, you have to continue annual testing and no further actions required. If you could show that your drinking water well is, sorry, laser pointer's not really working. If you could show that there's the nitrate levels are less than 8 milligrams per liter for 3 consecutive years, you can move to conduct testing every 5 years. So on the website, we have a bunch of resources and FAQs that the Regional Water Board has distributed. Here's a quick QR code if you want to scan it. It'll take you right to the coalition website with all of those resources. All right, and here's what the coalition boundary looks like. This year we have 82 members. It's up slightly from the previous year. We've had some recent conversations with the Regional Water Board just because the participation is not as much as we would expect based off the known amount of irrigated lands in the coalition area. So in the previous years, the Regional Water Board has conducted enforcement and warned growers that they might be fined if they don't join the coalition and are in compliance. Uh, this year, they've been sending out warning letters and they have been following up. So if you know someone who's not enrolled in the coalition, know that the Regional Water Board is lawyering up this year and they're going to be sending out fines to growers who are out of compliance. So if you know a neighbor who's not enrolled, you can let them know that information. Hopefully we could get the number of growers enrolled so that way the overall cost burden to everyone is lower. So what do your annual dues pay for? It pays for the state water board fees and it pays for all of the membership management as well as the monitoring and reporting. Let's go into those monitoring results. So monitoring is a requirement of the order. We have to do both surface water and groundwater monitoring. We use those test results to show that beneficial uses of those water bodies are being protected. So CVWD collects the samples and sends them to the laboratory. MOJ processes the samples and coordinates with the laboratory. And then you have the reporting part to the Regional Water Board, which is also handled by MOJ. Here's what the surface water monitoring sites look like. So we have 5 of them. You could think of most of them as funnels. So you have multiple sources draining into each one of these sites. And instead of testing each one of the individual sources, we just test the tip of the funnel. So greatly reduces the cost of testing for everyone. You also have the northernmost site. Oh, good, it's working again. So the Valley Sanitation District, we have this as an upstream monitoring site to tell what the water quality is coming into the coalition. That way, if we do see a water quality impairment at the sanitation district and we see it downstream, we could say that it's not because of irrigated agriculture, because you could tell that site. Well, if the laser pointer was working, but you could see that there's not irrigated ag above that site. Here's what we test for. So the coalition conducts testing on a quarterly basis. We conduct pesticide testing on a semi-annual basis. For 2025, we had an exceedance of chlorpyrifos. That's something that we observed at that sanitation district. So that's something that we've been able to tell the Regional Water Board that our growers are not responsible for that exceedance. And I don't have the 2025 results just yet, but 2024 was the first year that the coalition conducted fish tissue monitoring. So the storm channel is listed as having its water quality impaired because of legacy pesticides. So they have us test fish tissue to see how it's bioaccumulating at higher trophic levels. For 2024, MOJ was able to come down here and catch 2 different types of fish. So we caught 3 carp. This was the biggest one of them. Are quite proud of that one. And we were also able to catch 2 tilapia. So for the 2024 results, we did have an exceedance of DDT, again, an old legacy pesticide that's very, very persistent in the environment. And then on to groundwater quality. So we test for these constituents on an annual basis, and every other 5 years, we take a look at what the salt concentration of each one of these are. We have 8 different wells in the coalition, and for 2025, we had a single exceedance, so that's well number 5 for nitrate. That's not the first exceedance that we've had for that well. So, but it is nice to see that we are going down in terms of the number of wells that have nitrate exceedances. So there have been a total of 3 wells with nitrate exceedances in the past, and 2025 we only had 1. So it's a step in the right direction. Water quality restoration plans. So these are required for surface water if you have more than 2 consecutive exceedances of a pesticide, and groundwater if you have a single exceedance of nitrate. So I just showed you the results. We did have 3 wells with 3 wells with nitrate exceedances, so that does mean water quality restoration plan is needed. This is something that we just submitted to the regional water board, so MOJ prepared it. In it, we tried to demonstrate that growers are really doing their best by having multiple management practices in place to protect groundwater. And so in it, we proposed that we do additional reporting on the farm plan. So that's going to be wellhead practices, wellhead protection practices, as well as abandoned well practices. So CVWD let us know that they do offer a rebate program if you have an artesian well on your property. So that'll help mitigate the cost if you do have an abandoned well, abandoned artesian well. And here's a quick link to that if you do need it, if you're interested. So just a heads up that that will be potentially coming in soon.
Hi, Barry. This is Levi from Coachella Valley Water District.
Oh yeah. Hi, Levi.
Appreciate the plug for the artesian well rebate program. I just wanted to add that the amount that we offer is $7,500 per well, up to 2 wells, and that's per well owner. So it's a great program if you have quite a few wells on your property, some of them leaking due to the artesian conditions in the East Valley, then please reach out to me and we can give you the information on how to apply and everything you need in order to move forward with getting that fixed and issue a rebate. Just wanted to give a quick little shout out and say thanks for that. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. Thanks, Barry.
Yeah, thanks for chiming in with that additional information. All right, and now we're going to talk briefly about nitrogen coefficients. So for those of you who are unaware, nitrogen coefficients are used to figure out how much nitrogen is being removed from the ground at the time of harvest. It's a way of measuring nitrogen use efficiency. So we have a quick example. So one of the coefficients that we have developed specifically for this region is carrots. So the crop coefficient is, if I could get this working, well, you can see what the crop coefficient is, 0.0015. So you would multiply that by your yield to figure out how much nitrogen is being removed at the time of harvest. So if you have 30,000 pounds of carrots, you would multiply it by the coefficient and get 45 pounds of nitrogen removed at the time of harvest. So the order requirement right now is to have nitrogen crop coefficients developed for 95% of the coalition acreage by 2029. Right now, we have a bunch of studies in progress. So here's the list of those crops. Once all of those are done, it should be roughly 69% of that coalition acreage. Uh, some of you guys have also graciously volunteered some of your crops to be part of the region-specific studies that's being conducted by Dr. Monazar. So thank you if you did do that. So we do need to figure out how to get another 31% by 2029. So those are ongoing conversations, but just something to be aware of. Let's talk really quickly about the member portal. So the member portal's up right now. Every year it's up around November, and then we typically have it on until July. So you probably only look at this thing once a year. So if you don't remember what your password is, there is a forgot password button, and that'll send a reset to your email that you have on file. And if you still can't get in, you could reach out to us and we should be able to help you. So here's what the landing page looks like. You have the membership information, so you could view your balances, you could update your contact information and update which parcels you have enrolled and how much acres there are. You also have the member video, so if you can't attend in-person or online member meeting live, we should have that uploaded shortly, so that way you could complete your requirement of having attended annual meeting. Oops, not that one just yet. And then on the bottom left-hand side, oops, finally working again. You have the reports that you have due every February 1st. And on the bottom right-hand side, you have the INP worksheets. On the left-hand side, you do have a bunch of resources, so FAQs. On the top right-hand corner, if those FAQs don't answer your questions, you could reach out to us. We should be able to help you and walk you through the reporting process. All right, before I get into surveys, can I get a show of hands of how many people have finished their reporting for the year? Okay, not that many. How many people feel pretty confident or this is going to be like the third year of reporting for you guys. You guys feel pretty familiar with it? Feel like you need a refresher? Okay. Hopefully, I'm going to go through a little bit quicker this year just because I know you got some people have finished with their reporting, and hopefully it's familiar. So once you see it, it'll ring a bell. All right, so you have the reporting timeline. So again, the portal's usually up in November, and then we have them due by February 1st. You're required to complete your INP worksheets every March 1st. And the reason why we do have you finish in February 1st is because we need to process all of that data and send that to the Regional Water Board in a nice report by July 1st every year. Oh, and a reminder that there will be late fees if you do not turn it in by February 1st. So everyone who didn't raise their hands, it does cost the coalition resources and time to reach out to you to get you to turn in those reports. So please don't make it come to that. So we have the INP summary reports and the farm plans. So MLJ has combined the two of these surveys because there are some redundant questions, just to save you guys a little bit of time for your reporting. So before you start, the things that you should have in front of you are your nitrogen application information. So that's how much you applied, what your irrigation practices are, and how much yield you had for the 2025 crop year. So when you start, there is going to be a quick tour. You could go ahead and swipe through that if you feel like you know what you're doing, but otherwise you can have it walk you through. And when you land, the first thing you need to do is fill in your management units. So MLJ pre-populates your management units for you. So if you know you're farming the exact same things, all you got to do is review it. If you know that you are farming new parcels or you changed crops, then this is something that you would want to update. So a quick reminder of what management units are. So we have this example of 3 different parcels. On the first parcel, you have just carrots. And then on the second parcel, you have a mix of carrots and corn, roughly 50-50. And then on the third parcel, you have a crop rotation parcel. So you got broccoli one part of the year and lettuce the other part of the year. So the way you would break that down into management units is even if you have carrots, if you're growing carrots on the other side of the coalition, away from the first parcel, as long as you have the same management practices and you're fertilizing the same, irrigating the same, those could be a single management unit. Corn would be its own management unit, and if you have rotating crops, that would be its own separate management unit. So you would combine them. So if you do have changes, there is the add parcel, add new record. And for this example, you could see that for the block C management unit that has our crop rotation, you would have to put both of those crops in there. So just make sure that those are each are individual entries. So here's what management units are. So it's the same crop age, roughly the same yield per acre, how much nitrogen you're applying, and what management practices you're using. Cool.
So a lot of the guys here plant double crop, so like you have there, you got a lettuce and a broccoli.
Mm-hmm.
Still be one management unit even with 2 different crops.
Yeah, so that would be a single management unit. Just make sure it's 2 different entries. Yeah. It's really just try to simplify reporting for people who have a bunch of parcels who grow the same crop. At any time during your reporting, there's the preview management unit. You can click this button and it'll show you what your management units are if you need to be reminded. There's also an informational video. So after this, if you need a reminder of what a management unit is, you can click on that and it'll tell you. So before we get started on entering how much nitrogen you applied and what your yields were, just know that the management units are locked at this point. So if you're going through it and you realize that you made a mistake and you didn't group them correctly, you could hit back and fix it that way. Some other things that you should know are that if you have to step away from your computer for whatever reason, whenever you hit save progress, that'll help you, exactly what it says, save your progress so that way you could come back later. And do know that there are alerts for missing info. So even if, say, you didn't apply organic amendments, you would have to enter 0. That's just a safety feature for us. So new for this year is if you farm multiple parcels, maybe not multiple parcels, but quite a few parcels, you would be able to enter your information this year by downloading a spreadsheet and entering everything more quickly that way. And then you would just be able to upload the file, hit import data, and it should auto-populate everything for you. There's also the calculator too for figuring out how much nitrogen that you've applied. This was a highly requested feature from growers that have a lot of parcels. If you don't have that many parcels, I don't recommend it. I don't think it's expected to save you that much time. Probably just faster to do it the normal way. All right, so nitrogen in irrigation water is the first column that we have to fill out. If you know the concentration and how much you irrigated, that's something that you could just enter on your own. If you don't know it, you can hit the calculator button and you should be able to enter what your tested concentration is. If you use CVWD canal water, we'll have the concentration here for you and you would just be able to put it here. For this example, we're just going to say we use CVWD water, and then you would be able to plug in how much you irrigated. So either in acre inches or acre feet, plug that in, and it'll give you your irrigation, uh, your concentration, and fill it in for you. Update, and it'll plug it in for you. So organic amendments. This is anything that doesn't have a guaranteed nitrogen concentration on it. So say if you're using manure or something, it's probably just going to be an estimate in terms of how much nitrogen you're applying. So for that example, let's say we have roughly 8% nitrogen content for manure. If you apply 50,000 acres to 50,000 pounds to 50 acres, you would multiply 8% by that 50,000 pounds to get 4,000 pounds, and then divide that by your total acres to say that your application is 80 pounds per acre. By the way, everything is ounce per acre, and your yield is also per acre, and we try to have your production unit also in pounds. For liquid fertilizers, it's a little bit more clear cut. So liquid fertilizers or dry fertilizers, that's something that will be on the label, and it is a guaranteed nitrogen content amount. For your fertilizer, you'll have 3 numbers on them. You just want the first number, so it's going to be nitrogen. So the first number would say 11% nitrogen content, and the second one is just same type of calculation. So you would multiply how much you've actually applied to get the total nitrogen that you've applied, and then divide that by the total acreage. Some mistake that we have noticed in the past, or at least probable mistake, is people putting in the total pounds of the product that they've applied. So that's something that you definitely want to double check, so that way it doesn't look like you're applying more than you really are. That's going to raise some eyebrows when it comes to reporting. MOJ will reach out to you by phone or email, whichever one's on file. And if it's an odd number that we see, we'll try to confirm that result for you. So just keep an eye out for that. Foliar fertilizers, something that you apply above the ground, so directly to the plant. For this example, it would be this very similar concentration, but we'll just say 0. All right, and then you would put in your yield, so pounds per acre, and if you have any of these applicable conditions, say if you have young trees, so you have orchard crops on your parcel and they're not fruiting yet, and you just put your harvested yield at 0, that's something that you would want to indicate here. If you're saying that you don't have any nitrogen input, that's because you didn't farm it, that's something that you would select here. If it's not in the drop-down menu, or if you want to make a comment about what might have affected your yield for the year, that's something that you should add here. So if you had a pest infestation that potentially lowered your yield, that's something you would note, or potential extreme weather situation that also affected your yield, that's something that you can note. All right, and then for the drop-down menu, it's everything in pounds. We have a whole bunch of different crops in the Coachella Valley, so we try to accommodate all the different ways that you would report that you're making the harvest. So just select whichever one applies, and if you can't find it, that's something that you could also comment. All right, that's the hard part. Any questions? No, that's the hard part. It's smooth sailing once you're done with this. All right, and then so from here on, it's mostly just checking which boxes that apply to you. So we're going to you're going to check whichever irrigation and irrigation and sediment and erosion practices that you have on farm. So just click whatever applies. If all of your management units or parcels have the same practice, then you could just check all. Try to streamline things. All right, and again, just a reminder, if you need to know which management units, what crops are in which management unit, you have this button that you can click at any time. All right, and same thing, just check which boxes apply for you for your irrigation and nitrogen efficiency practices. This is something that shows up on both the INMP and farm plan. So again, MLJ has you just do it once, and then we'll populate it on the report to the Regional Water Board. And then you're basically done at this point. All you got to do is sign your name, and we just want that as a signature. So in case we do have questions and want to confirm a result for you, we want to know who's the person to contact. And from here on out, you could either move on to the farm plan or take a break and do it later. But it is 4 days. It is due in 4 days. So maybe just do it all in one go. All right. So you're done with the INMP summary report. The farm plan is next. Pretty easy compared to the INMP summary report. So for the well information, you would report how many irrigation wells you have, how many drinking water wells you have, and how many abandoned wells you have on each property. MOJ pre-populates the number of wells that you've reported in previous years, but again, do double check the number of drinking water wells, just because it's quite a few more than we expected. And we also don't want to tell the Regional Water Board this, and they're expecting more results to be reported to them. So same thing for your irrigation efficiency practices, just check whichever applies to you. Same thing for your sediment and erosion control. And here you would just type in whatever you've applied for the year. So whatever fertilizers, whatever pesticides, whatever organic amendments. And here we have the spray practices. Same thing, just check whichever applies to you. And the subsurface drainage, this is something that is also pre-populated if it was reported in the previous year. This is whether or not you discharge, and if you do discharge, to which water body do you discharge it to? There's another box for you to click if you know that there is no discharges from your property. And same thing, you're basically done. Just, excuse me, sign your name, and bam. If you realize you made a mistake and you need to edit it, you could either hit the review and edit button, or if you made a really big mistake, you could hit reset survey. Something that also might be helpful is printing. So if you don't expect your results to change very much in the next year, that's something that you could print out and use for future reference. All right. And just to remind everyone that there's also additional resources on the coalition website. So under reporting requirements, you have a bunch of the FAQs here. Last year, MOJ also hosted INMP and farm plan entry seminar. So that's a much more in-detailed walkthrough of how to complete it. This was something that some certified crop advisors were interested in. If you yourself have a license that could benefit from continued education units, we have it on the website for you to watch, and there's a quiz to just fill out. I think you have to get roughly 75% correct, and then we'll let the appropriate parties know that you've completed it, so that way you can get your units. All right, and last but not least is the INP worksheet. So this is just something that you should fill out, and you don't have to turn it into the coalition. It's just something that you should have on farm in case the Regional Water Board does an on-farm inspection. It is a requirement in the order for you to have it. Just fill it out. If you have a crop advisor or farm manager, you could probably have them walk you through. It's also something that you would keep on hand for the upcoming year's reporting. It's just a plan for what you're doing, and then you would plug in how much your actuals are. All right, and yeah, just a reminder that it's due in 4 days, so please complete it as soon as possible. If you have any other questions, just know that you could always reach out to us either by email or phone, and we'd be happy to help. All right, that's it for me. Any questions about the reporting or requirements?
Go to the next slide, and hopefully that doesn't lag too much. All right. So I wanted to start just by giving a little overview of what the plan is, what the water management plan update is, what we're doing. I think Liv kind of already covered that a little bit, but just to go into a little more detail. So this is a 5-year update to the 2022 plan. It's pursuant to the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act that was passed by the state of California in 2014. It's prepared on behalf of the Indio Subbasin Groundwater Sustainability Agencies, which are Coachella Valley Water District, Coachella Water Authority, Desert Water Agency, and Indio Water Authority. And the overarching goal of the plan is to ensure that groundwater is managed sustainably for all beneficial users, and that includes agricultural uses. Oops, sorry, I have to say next slide to myself. And part of this is part of the plan update includes projecting water demands into the future, into 2050 for this 2027 update. And a big part of that is agricultural demand, since it's more than 50% of water demands in the basin. And I wanted today to just go over our demand forecast, our current demand forecast for agricultural demand, how we got there, what it's looking like, and then if anyone has any questions for me at the end or any input, any insight, then I would welcome those. I'll have some time for questions at the end. So I wanted to start by just showing some historical demand in the Coachella Valley, and specifically Indio Basin, or Indio Subbasin. And so this graph over here just shows the water demands for agricultural use from 2010 through 2024. And in the blue, that's canal demand or canal use, and then groundwater is about maybe 20%, a little less than 20% of that use in the orange on top. And you can kind of see that starting in about 2016, the demand has been steadily declining over the last 8 years or so. And for our forecast for the plan update, we use the last 5 years of data, it's 2020 to 2024, to sort of project as sort of a starting point to project into the future. And the last 5 years of water use is just under about 268,000 acre feet per year. So we take that historical demand, the average of the last 5 years, and we sort of get a geographical understanding, a more granular understanding of where the water demand is coming from. We look at this crop survey. So this is the NESS crop survey in 2024 on the right here. And we just sort of use that to geographically distribute the average demand. So we understand what the demand has been the last 4 years. We have those numbers, but we want to understand a little bit more granularly exactly where that's being used. And so we do that by looking at the crop types in the area and calculating applied water usage. And then we sum that into different sort of geographic areas, and then we calibrate that to actual water use data. So that when we calculate this with applied water use, we're just maybe a little bit over what we assume actual water use has been, maybe like 3% over. So then we bring that down a little bit so it reflects what the actual demands are. once we have sort of our starting point, so we use that to get our starting 2025 point of water demand, we want to project that demand into the future. And to do that, we're looking at predicted land use changes. So the Southern California Association of Governments, or SCAG, projects land use change and population change from 2019 through 2050. And that's what you're seeing on the right here in this graph. This is specifically for agricultural land use, what the SCAG is projecting in changes from 2019 to 2050. So the red over here is agricultural loss. The blue is agricultural gain. And the sort of lighter bluish green is areas where there's no predicted change. And this data is taken from the city's sort of general plan updates and basically looking at land use changes, what these municipalities are anticipating for land use changes based on general plan information through 2050. And overall, there's anticipated to be a net loss of agricultural acreage. They're assuming that some of this land is going to be converted into urban use. And so we take all that information and we come up with this demand forecast through 2050. So the graph on the right here is showing the difference between the last report, the 2022 update, so the forecast that was done in 2020, and then our current forecast that's done in 2025 for the 2027 plan update. The orange is last cycle's estimations, and the blue is our current projections. And as you can see here, we're sort of our projected agricultural demands are a little bit lower than they were last time around, and there's a couple of reasons for that. One of them is that, as you kind of saw in that sort of first graph I showed of historical demands, the demand has been decreasing. So there was lower actual agricultural demands in 2020 to 2024 than were anticipated the previous time. So they had kind of started at a higher starting point, as you can see there. And then additionally, there was some anticipated conversion of idle farmland to agricultural land last time around. In the last cycle, they anticipated that some of the Borrego Valley farms that were becoming fallow due to water demand concerns in that area were going to sort of become farms in the Coachella. They thought that some of the farms in the Borrego Valley were going to maybe relocate into the Coachella Valley and cause some fallow land to agricultural land conversions. And we're just not seeing that materialize, so we're not anticipating that in this forecast. But overall, we're sort of, because of that net assumed loss of agricultural land use from the SCAG report, we are projecting a decrease overall in agricultural demand. And then, so this slide here is just showing total demands, so agricultural, golf course, and municipal demands. So you can see in the green on the bottom, that's essentially those numbers that I just showed you, that kind of decrease from about 260 to 240,000 acre feet in just agricultural demands. And so the current agricultural demand usage in the valley is more than 50% of total demands are ag use. But that's going to change a little bit, we suspect, by 2050, as municipal demands are anticipated to increase, and due to some of that ag to urban conversion that is being assumed here. But overall, total demands are anticipated to increase for the whole valley over that time period of 2025 through 2050, from about 566,000 acre feet a year to 578,000 acre feet a year. And part of the reason I wanted to come present here today, and thank you so much for having me, is we're really wanting to ensure accuracy. And we'd love to hear any feedback if you have any, because we, as you can see in this graphic here, so how we're doing this demand forecast is we're taking land use changes, historical demand, and crop use, and we're taking all that information and we're we're projecting demand. But if any of those inputs aren't accurate, then we're not getting an accurate demand forecast. So we've been confirming with the water agencies our historical demand, and we're now in the process of just ensuring that those land use change, the acreages that we're seeing are accurate. And we are wanting to make sure that crop survey is accurate. We're currently confirming that NASS survey with CVWD's crop survey that they do. So if anyone has any insight, if you're sort of seeing anything on the ground that might sort of change our estimations, we'd love to hear. If you think that maybe the land use changes aren't quite what they're anticipating in SCAG, or if you think that the crop slavery is incorrect, I'd love to hear comments from anyone here. And if you have any other questions for me, I am happy to take those now.
Hey, Emily, I have just a suggestion or quick comment.
Yes, thanks, Lily.
Is there anything specifically, say, a document or some reference material that we could provide or share that folks here could review? Is there anything that we could review in the meantime and that they could comment on? Or is there anything specifically that they, can look at and weigh in on?
I guess I could probably provide that map of the land use change, and then I could also provide a map of maybe the two different, once we're sort of done our review of the different crop surveys, I could provide maps of those if that's something you could circulate.
Barry, is that possible? Can we share that with the group, and in that way folks can take a look at their on their time and weigh in on what we're presenting, and in that way they have something, folks have something in front of them and can actually comment on, and we could use that for any input.
Yeah, I think that's something that we could just email blast to all members.
Amazing, that would be great. Fantastic. I'll go ahead and yeah, just I think essentially those three graphs or maps, sorry, of what the crop use types are and what the anticipated changes in agricultural use are expected, and we can circulate those if anyone has any sort of insight onto how accurate those maps are. That would be wonderful.
In addition to the presentation too, would that be okay, Emily?
Oh yeah, I can definitely send the presentation over as well.
Perfect.
All right, I'll go ahead and stop my screen share then, but thanks everyone so much for listening to that presentation, and I'll send those materials on over to Barry.
Appreciate your time, Emily. Thank you for the presentation.
Thanks, Emily.
Okay, so good afternoon, everyone. As Barry had mentioned, my name is Levi Anderson. I'm Senior Environmental Compliance Specialist at Coachella Valley Water District. Unfortunately, staff from West Yost, our consulting firm, providing technical services on the SNMP on behalf of the CVSNMP agencies, wasn't able to attend today's meeting. So I'm here to fill in and share a brief update on the current status of the SNMP. Okay, here's the quick agenda. So we'll go through what is the CVSNMP, what's its role in the agricultural industry, what is the role of the agricultural industry in the sector in the CVSNMP, what have we been working on, and feedback and next steps. So we'll go through the what of the CVSNMP. So the need to develop SNMPs for the groundwater basins in California began in 2009 when the State Water Board adopted the recycled water policy in 2009. So the purpose of the 2009 policy was to encourage increased use of recycled water while also meeting state and federal water quality laws. So in order to accomplish this, the 2009 policy included a requirement to prepare SNMPs, so salts and nutrients from all sources be managed on a basin-wide or watershed-wide basis in a manner that ensures attainment of water quality objectives, protection of beneficial uses. So the 2009 policy recognized that all groundwater basins are different in size, complexity, and other factors. So it's important to note that there are locally driven stakeholder efforts to address region-specific conditions. So in essence, we're protecting groundwater from salts and nutrients, and we're looking to maintain groundwater beneficial uses, acknowledging that salt and nutrients enter groundwater for a variety of reasons, including through irrigation, recycled water use, natural sources, septic systems, etc. So, uh, yeah, oops, sorry about that. I got ahead of myself here. And the why, it's Coachella Valley's economy is tied to water, and the agricultural sector is an important aspect of the local economy, and we need to include input from all stakeholders in the valley, and that's why we're here providing this. I'm here providing the presentation to engage the agricultural sector. Forgot these bullets here. So you can see the CVSNMP has potential impacts to our ability to use recycled water, our ability to use Colorado River water. It affects operations and costs of managing and treating water and wastewater. And it also could potentially directly impact our water rates. So it's very important. SNMP has effects on all of these aspects listed here. So how does the agricultural industry fit into the CVS and MP? So the recycled water policy expects that salt and nutrient contributing stakeholders will have input on the substance of the SNMP. So as it relates to the agricultural sector, it could govern, well, it could influence how and where and how much recycled water is applied over time. So if you're regulated for a discharge by a water board, it could impact your permits. So in general, it could result in new or revised regulations and change permits. So we'll go through a technical scope of work components of the SNMP. So we have it broken down into tasks, and we organize it further into components. So component one, we have characterizing current groundwater quality and sources of salt and nutrient loading. So those were covered by tasks 1 and 2 of the SNMP, which have been completed with task memos issued. Additional component is identify appropriate salt and nutrient concentrations in groundwater to protect water quality and beneficial uses. And then evaluate the impact of current and prospective water supply plans on groundwater quality and costs. So this covers our tasks 4 and 7. I just wanted to point out that as it relates to this third bubble here, it's more than water supply plans, it's water and nutrient management practices that impact the quality of groundwater. So those going to include best management practices for fertilizer, and water application, wastewater effluent use, disposal, etc. And then concluding, we'll collectively use all information to prepare an updated CVS NMP, which is our final task 8. So we'll just a quick review of the technical review process. So we start with preparing the technical memo with input from the SC and others. The SC stands for our steering committee, which is comprised of representatives from the 8 water and wastewater agencies in the Coachella Valley. And moving forward, we'll prepare an administrative draft TM and present to the technical advisory committee. So the technical advisory committee can be representatives from CVS NMP agencies. It's our technical consultants that each CVS and MP agency chooses to represent them, and at least one neutral technical expert. The regional board is also included on the TAC as well in an advisory capacity. So continuing forward, we'll update the technical memos based on TAC comments and release a draft TM technical memo for public review. And then finally, we'll finalize the technical memo based on public comments in addition to responses to public comments. So both the Gulf Water Task Force and CVILC have provided input, and we'll go through that in the following slides. So this slide shows a general timeline of or schedule of the CVS NMP update. So I just wanted to point out that each one of these bars represent tasks that we're working our way through, and there are deliverables associated with each respective task. So I'm not sure if folks can see my cursor moving here. We're on task, we're on 5 here, construct total dissolved solids and nitrate forecasting tools and evaluate the baseline scenario. And the stars here represent areas where CVILC had provided input in the past. So you could see CVILC had provided input on our delineation for draft management zones, as well as characterizing total dissolved solids and nitrate loading to the groundwater basin. And then moving forward, again, we'll continue to engage the agricultural sector along with our other stakeholders in the Indio subbasin for input, finishing up the rest of these tasks. So each star again represents opportunities for input. So here are the technical scope of work components. We'll just go through it briefly. So I basically covered this. It just outlines where we are with our with those tasks that we covered. And again, just highlighting that we're at this point in our development, our SNMP process, where we're evaluating the impacts of current and prospective water supply plans on groundwater quality and costs. And we'll collectively use all information to prepare an updated CVS NMP, and letting you know that, again, additional opportunities for input are coming soon. So again, this just shows a summary of where we are in the process of our completing our technical memos. So again, we're currently wrapping up our TM number 5 on constructing total dissolved solids and nitrate forecasting tools. So we'll anticipate a public review around this summer. So if you're wondering when that will come out, we'll be sure to let you all know when that is, and send an email or at least put the word out for input through that public review process. So in short, that's where we'd like to see engagement through the public review process. And what's coming next? As I just spoke to, so we're currently still working on the draft and final TM number 5 regarding model construction and baseline scenario evaluation. So please continue to stay engaged and share comments anytime. here's some contact information for our West Yost consultants, but also you can always reach out to myself, and if you have any questions regarding the SNMP and in any general questions or any questions as far as how you're able to provide input on the SNMP, please don't hesitate to reach out. Again, it's important for the agricultural community to provide input on these plans, as they could influence, as I spoke to earlier in the presentation, that the SNMP could potentially impact permits and board, regional water quality board general order and whatnot, and whatever is required through that in our monitoring program. So, which would be CVILC in this case. So, please, again, let us know if you have any questions. And with that, thank you. Again, thank you for your patience, everyone. I know that's a lot to digest. But if there are any questions, I'd like to open it up, and please feel free to let me know.
No questions on this side, Levi.
Okay, thanks, Barry. Yeah, like I said, that's a lot to go through, but I was hoping I could, Barry, just for the future and as far as engaging CVILC for the SNMP processes, just considering how there's just so much overlap between CVILC and SNMP, and how SNMP could influence this. Just, in general, kind of thinking toward areas of coordination in the future, or just trying to think of other what would be the best way to outreach the agricultural sector and get engagement on this. And it's very important stuff, and always eager to hear comments and feedback. Thank you.
Thanks, Levi. All right, I think that's it then. Thanks everyone for coming today.